Hello co-creator, Lilou here. This is another of my soul sessions, and today it's on relationship, and I have as a guest Gay Hendricks. He was on the Oprah show with his wife, have been creating an amazing love empire, many books, bestsellers, have transformed thousands of people's lives. And I'm here today to ask him on how to create long-lasting relationships, issues with singles, and how we can co-create some amazing, long-lasting, beautiful, fulfilling relationships. So it's an honor to introduce you to Gay Hendricks. Good afternoon, Gay Hendricks. It's a pleasure to be interviewing you today on soulmates and lasting relationship and creating genuine love in our life. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Great being with you.
So tell me, you are one of the top speakers out there with your wife Kathlyn about creating lasting relationships. Do you actually believe in soulmates? And what is it?
I've been asked that many times, and I'd like to tell you the way I look at soulmates, that I think one of the greatest quotations I ever came across was from the novelist Tom Robbins. And he said, instead of looking for a perfect lover out there, look for the perfect love inside yourself and open up and feel as perfect a love as you can make for yourself. And my experience was that when I did that, finally, after trying everything else I could possibly think of during my 20s and early 30s, when I finally did that, when I finally just loved myself the way I was, suddenly I found the one. You know that it happened a month later. And I've never known for sure whether to call that a soulmate or what. It's you know, because I think one of the problems I have with soulmates is the idea of maybe people think there's just this one person out there and they have to kind of keep looking and looking and looking and looking and looking until they find that person. But I want to just say that the way I think it works is you kind of look for that perfect person inside yourself, and when you finally realize there isn't anybody, there's just you the way you are, and when you remember to love and honor that part of yourself, that imperfect part of yourself, then I think it frees you to find a person that also loves themselves at that level. And then you come together and the relationship becomes about being in a space of unconditional love together. So I just want to, when we use the word soulmate, I just want to make sure that people aren't thinking of pursuing something out there that's some idealized perfection out there in the world, and they've got to keep still looking for it.
So you're saying once you align yourself, you love yourself unconditionally, then potentially right there, the right person that is there for you out there can show up. Kind of in a miraculous way, I heard. I mean, some people say right away when they've seen that person, they fell in love. They knew it was the one. Was it your case? How old were you when you met Kathlyn?
When I met Kathlyn, we call her Katie here around the house too, so you're welcome to call her Katie. It's a little bit easier to pronounce than Kathlyn. Even Oprah Winfrey mispronounced Kathlyn's name a couple of times when we were on her show the first time. One of the things that happened for me was that a month before I met Katie, I had kind of a crisis in myself where I realized that every relationship problem I'd ever encountered in my teens and my 20s was always because either I didn't tell the truth about something or the other person didn't tell me the truth about something, so there was some kind of dishonesty in the relationship. And also, every time I'd encountered a relationship problem, there was always blame involved, where one or the other of us would start blaming the other one for the way things are. And then, of course, when somebody blames you, as you well know, usually you don't just say, yeah, you know, it is all my fault. So you usually kind of blame the other person back, and it gets into this cycle of blame. And I realized that that had happened every time that I'd ever had a relationship conflict, even going back to the first time I was had my high school girlfriend when I was 17 years old. And so I was 33 or 34, I guess, when I finally met Katie. And what had happened the month before is I had this kind of crisis where I realized, wow, there's always dishonesty and there's always blame. So I want to create a relationship where both people are willing to be honest and both people are willing to take responsibility for things when they come up rather than blaming. And I added a third important thing too, which was that I wanted a relationship where both people were really committed to their creativity, because I'd had relationships in the past where if one person was out of touch with their creativity, they would blame the other person and vice versa. And so there would be this kind of battle around not expressing creativity. And so I wanted a relationship where both people were equally committed to a relationship where both of them could be creative, instead of one of them being the creative one and the other one being the support person. And so I placed that order, so to speak, with the universe. I kind of put this prayer out. I said, okay, here's what I really want. Honesty, no blame, in other words, taking responsibility. And I wanted a relationship where both people are committed to their creativity. And I said to the universe in my prayer, I said, if it's not in the cards for me to have that kind of relationship, okay, I'm happy to be alone. I'm willing to be alone. But I promise you, I will never, ever settle for less. And so I just basically said that to the quiet room I was in, and then I forgot about it. And then the next month, I met Katie. And in my first conversation with her, I said those things. I said, I'm very attracted to you, and I'd love to ask you out for a cup of coffee, but I really want to let you know that I only want relationships where both people are honest and both people are committed to taking responsibility and both people are committed to their creativity. And so on those terms, would you like to go have a cup of coffee with me? And thankfully she said yes, because now 30 years later, we're still having a wonderful life together. And so when I first met her, there was something special about her. I could see, I'm not one to say I see auras, like colorful auras and things, but there was some kind of a glow around her that let me know that this was a person who really knew something about love and had experienced real love. And so I felt like this was a person that, even if we were different on the surface, and we were very different, I was a university professor at the time, and she was a dance movement therapist, and so we kind of lived in two different worlds, but our worlds came together very beautifully. After we got together, we decided to make our lives about teaching people how to have conscious relationships.
But before we get in there, there was actually a need, though. You were at a place where you were totally at peace with who you are and loving yourself unconditionally, yet there was some kind of void there because you asked for something. So how do you deal with that wanting to share that love, that wanting to find it, but yet being comfortable with being on your own? I think a lot of us singles are battling with that. So do you have any recommendation?
That's a great question. I appreciate the way you asked that, because, see, I think it shouldn't be an either or. I think that, see, a lot of people think you either plan and do visualization or you just kind of take life as it comes at you.
Yeah.
But why not do both? Why not go ahead and work on learning to love yourself and loving yourself deeply and unconditionally, and also put out some plans or visualizations or affirmations about how you'd like things to be. Because, think about it in terms of ordering breakfast in a restaurant. It's much better to order your breakfast in a state of loving acceptance, because then when you eat it, your body's going to digest it and you're going to enjoy it a great deal more. Whereas if you said to the waiter or waitress, all right, just bring me some pancakes and be quick about it. If you were kind of like ordered it that way, then what would happen is that you'd probably get back that same kind of, kind of a dismissive sort of response from the person on the other end.